Howdy everyone, Shadowroo here, and I am your coach of the Sarasota Scissors, back again with the Woods Season 5 Draft League. We are moving into Week 2 with our opponent, the Philadelphia Aggrons, coached by Ronan. Now I know I said before that I was going to try and maybe split these up into two different videos, one for the team and one for the battle, but I figured it's probably not the best idea to make my actual team public for my opponent to just see and build around and stuff like that. So for now, we're gonna keep it at one video. Let's move into it, shall we? So first glance, looking at his team, there's some very select powerhouses that could give me some trouble, with the rest of his team actually being surprisingly balanced. We obviously have Tyranitar, very versatile Pokemon that can do a lot of things, while even setting up in the back to just be an all-around threat. Could be any number of things, really. We have Togekiss. Air slash flinches are always fun, question mark. Obviously, thick-ass Goodra, Cobalion to round out that nice Steel Fairy Dragon Core, so on and so forth. Even Shedinja. You know, this thing isn't exactly a powerhouse threat, but got to at least keep it in the back of my mind and prepare for it and all that. But long story short, his team here, kinda nice. Obviously, with the negative differential, he was at a loss last week, but I never underestimate an opponent. You never know when they're going to, pull something out and pull a win over you, even if they've been on a 5-10 game loss streak, or the other way, you never know if it's going to be you to end someone's win streak, so I always try to take it one week at a time. But y'all didn't come for that, y'all came for the team, so let's dive right into that. First things first, I needed a Trick Room setter, so I figured Bronzong would be a good start. So Bing Bong here is outfitted with Heatproof this week, not Levitate, specifically because anything that could hit me with Earthquake, like Tyranitar, can already hit me with a super effective stab move that does a lot more. So we're running Heatproof specifically for Flamethrower Togekiss, that sort of thing. Colbur Berry to, in theory, live a crunch and hit back with Body Press. Body Press actually does, with this spread, close to an OHKO. Actually, it is an OHKO, but it's not guaranteed without rocks against Tyranitar. That changes if he's running Chople Berry, but let's hope that he's not, shall we? It's still a 2-ko, but I'd rather not be put in that situation. We also have Gyro Ball, specifically for Togekiss, which it does pretty decent damage to, and Stealth Rocks to just wear down his team over time and force him to maybe remove them eventually. So, yeah, all around with Bronzong, it offers nice coverage and utility while also being the backbone of the Trick Room team. After that, I decided to bring Pangoro here, so I needed just a offensive presence that I could start going to ham with, and that's what Cujo is hoping to do. I have Knockoff for mostly Goodra, because that thing with Assault Vest or Choice Specs could put in some work. So with Knockoff, I can remove that item and hopefully make it more manageable. Drain Punch to obviously keep me healthy, and hit Cobalion, Tyranitar, that sort of thing. Bullet Punch as a late-game cleaning option. Well, not even late-game, just to clean something that might be, faster than me even out of Trick Room, like Togekiss. This actually does pretty decent damage to Togekiss, so maybe after a few times of swapping into rocks, Pangoro can revenge kill it. And Gunk Shot helps me if we are in Trick Room, because I would outspeed Togekiss, and Gunk Shot is pretty close to an OHKO. So, yeah, Cujo is here, offensive threat, not much else to say. After that, I figured I needed something that could pressure late game. Not a win condition per se. I wouldn't call Sandaconda here a win condition just because it has Coil and can set up, and that should be Brave Nature. I'll fix that later, but this Pokemon can basically come in on something like Tyranitar, and if Tyranitar starts trying to set up Dragon Dances on me, I'll just click Coil, start getting some nice defense even while he's setting up, and be able to hit back in return. And the accuracy buff is nice because I won't miss Stone Edge this time, maybe, but knowing my luck, I'd click Coil once and have like a 1% chance of missing and still hit it, but that's neither here nor there. Then obviously Substitute to potentially mess with him even further, and a really, really strong Stab Earthquake. So all around, not exactly a win condition, but could pressure him enough middle game to put a nice hole in his team that he would then have to deal with. After that, I'm like, okay, I might need another Trick Room setter to potentially get through the late game, because as much as I like Bronzong, it's probably not going to last throughout the game if I need to set up Trick Room again. So with that regard, I'm bringing Pringles here. So pretty basic set, Scald, Will-O-Wisp, Strength Sap, just all around cripple his physical threats, which are more prevalent than his special threats. And then obviously Trick Room just to clean up in the late game and potentially, you know, re-allow myself to outspeed some of his threats. It is not a direct counter to Inteleon, even though it does have Water Absorb, because Inteleon does get Dark Pulse, and Dark Pulse does pretty decent damage overall. If he's running Sniper, which we are allowing, even though it's not released, he could be running a crit set, and that could do a lot of damage. But all in all, I think Jellicent's still a decent check to it, and hopefully with the rest of my team I'll be able to handle it, and with Trick Room up, I should be able to. After that, I figured I actually need a win condition at this point. It's all bulk and then Sandaconda, which is iffy. So, I figured Mew. Now, you might look at Mew and be like, oh, but Shatteru, how does that work on a Trick Room team? Don't you know that it's base 100 speed? Well, see, that's where Gen 8 has come to the rescue. They've introduced a new item, Room Service, which lowers your speed by 1 stage if Trick Room is up, meaning that some Pokemon that were previously too fast to be viable in Trick Room might now be able to get their speed just low enough to start putting in some work, and that's what I'm hoping to do with Mew. I'm running a pretty basic sweeping set with Nasty Plot, Psyshock, not Psychic, specifically for Goodra, Ice Beam for decent coverage against Togekiss and the like, and Aura Sphere for cleaning Tyranitar and Cobalion and that sort of thing. Obviously does not cover Shedinja, so if I'm going to sweep with this thing, it has to come in after Shedinja's dead, but hopefully that doesn't prove to be too big of an issue. Maybe he won't even bring it. We will see. And finally, I was kind of looking for something that might be able to be just a little bit fast out of Trick Room. Obviously nothing too crazy. He does have Barraskewda, but I figured, I'm going to bring this thing. It's probably better than anything else I could have possibly brought. Like, I was considering Toxtricity again, but anyway, this Pokemon helps with both outspeeding a little bit and maybe hitting Togekiss so I don't get flinch haxed to death, and also allows me to cover Goodra just that little bit better. And it's another middle game, you know, setup sweeper, sweeper in massive air quotes. It's not going to win me the game, but it could, like, just tear a big hole in their team that they would then have to deal with. So we're running a pretty basic Silvally set. Nice mixed attacker, Ice Beam for coverage, multi-attack for 120 base fairy move, SD and Rock Slide for basically Centiskorch and Shedinja. Just a little bit more coverage for that lower tier stuff that could pull one out on me if I'm not careful. So with that, we have the basic strategy in mind. Get up Trick Room with Bronzong, tear some nice holes in his team with these guys, maybe bring in Jellicent later if I need to, but hopefully the game wouldn't last a super long time so that Bronzong is dead and I'm dependent on it. And then for what's left, just let Mew come in, set up if needed, and go to town. So with that, that's the team that we're running with, and I'm going to switch it over to the battle. So I will catch y'all in just a moment. Okay, here we are with the battle replay. I know I said I was going to do these live, but I found that it was really hard to keep up good or semi-good commentary while trying to focus on the match. So for now, we're going to do the replays like last week. And I know I keep changing my mind back and forth about stuff, but I'm still figuring everything out, so we'll see where this ends up. Looking at his team, pretty much everything we expected. Between T-Tar, Fairy Dragon, Steel Core, he brought Centiskorch over Shedinja. I honestly expected that he could bring either, but Centiskorch I think is better. We have more ways to handle it than Shedinja, and it doesn't require rocks or us keeping specific type coverage around to not get walled. And then Inteleon. We will see how Inteleon impacts this team, because, as I mentioned, it could be an issue. We didn't exactly build super heavy for it, but let's get into this, shall we? So I figured I'd start off with Bronzong simply because there's not a huge amount he can do about it. Like, he could, like, I don't know, taunt me or go into Tyranitar and maybe click Crunch, but either way, I'm getting my Trick Room up. I expected him, since he led Cobalion, to be like, okay, he's going to click Taunt, so I'm just going to get Body Press off, do some hefty damage, and then when he inevitably swaps out to try and save it, then I will throw out my Trick Room. Which worked. I'm relieved that it did, so I'm able to make the safe swap into Jellicent, safe for right now anyway. If he does have Dark Pulse, he won't be reading this early in the game. At this point, I'm like, if he does have it, I'm going to double out into Pangoro and get the free Pangoro switch, which is good for me. He reads that and goes into Togekiss. I'm like, great, I can click Gunk Shot, but I fucking miss. Of course I do. He goes for Toxic, though, not Air Slash, which was interesting. He could have totally gotten the KO here just because I missed. I guess he expected me to click Gunk Shot twice, though, because he goes back into Cobalion, I'm not having any of it, and I Drain Punch him out of existence. Okay, so Trick Room now is gone, so I need to be able to get it back. I did some calcs. Turns out Bronzong lives Flamethrower quite well. It's like 23% damage max. But he goes for Toxic again. I'm not exactly sure what spread he is, but Toxic twice. Interesting. He goes out into Inteleon again. I'm able to get my Trick Room back up. And I just go back out into Pangoro like, I can probably live a Scald or something. But he goes for Air Slash. I didn't realize that this Pokemon got Air Slash, but that's Pangoro down. So I'm going out here into Silvally like, I can probably live one. If he's choiced, I can definitely live one because he won't be able to click a water move. And I'll just get Swords Dance up. Which I do, and I live quite nicely. He goes out into Goodra, which I'm not entirely sure why he did that. Because he saw that I was Silvally Fairy, and Silvally Fairy tore this Goodra a new one. Anyway, as this goes on, I also take out Inteleon, and then the Trick Room's down, so I'm like, okay, this thing's at half health. In comes Togekiss, or really anything, but no, in comes Tyranitar. And I guess he's a bulky spread, not a fast spread, because I still outspeed him at -1, and down goes the T-Tar. Then he brings in Centiskorch, which was also interesting. Again, I'm not sure why Togekiss didn't come out. But anyway, Rock Slide takes care of that, and then finally Togekiss comes in and finishes me off. I guess he didn't expect to outspeed me or to secure the KO, which is fair, I suppose, but either way, it would have saved a lot of his team. So I'm like, okay, this should be a wash at this point, because Bronzong walls this thing out, and getting a Trick Room up ensures that everything can hit him. So I'm able to get my Trick Room off, and Shadow Ball, or sorry, not Shadow Ball, Gyro Ball is basically a 3-hit KO at this point, and with that, we are moving into Week 3 at a 2-0. GG to Ronan. I know you've mentioned that you're still kind of new to this whole thing, and that's totally fine. I get it. Every battle is a learning experience, so thank you for sticking it out to the end, and I know I was probably pressuring you to get the game done, but I really wanted to play. So good luck next week, my dude, and same goes for all of y'all in the woods. Good luck moving into Week 3, and as always, thank you for watching.